Hey guys, good morning. What's up? My name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. Today we are on day 21 of the Karen Reed retrial, and they are at sidebar. Alessi just said that he wanted to discuss something with the judge. So they are starting at sidebar as usual. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We went to Islands H2O in Kissimmee, which is on the outskirts of Orlando in Osceola County. Um, it was a nice road trip. We got to swim. Again? Why do you wait till I start streaming? It's a nice road trip. Swam in the wave pool. Floated on the lazy river. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Spike, you just went outside. You weren't out there long enough to do anything. So then we went to the slides. And the very first, and we had to come home. StreamYard, I'm not in the mood for this today. Hey, Jill. Hey, Judy. During Brian Higgins' testimony in Trial 1, he stated that he went to his best friend, Matt Kelch, who works as a federal agent for the ATF, and asked for his assistance in extracting his text messages. He also admitted that he only handed over the flirtatious messages with Karen, and that after that he destroyed his phone. Matt Kelch testified during Aaron Hernandez's second murder trial. During Higgins' testimony, he lawyered up as he admitted to utilizing federal resources for federal gain, which is a federal crime. So, Matt, what's his name? Kelch? He testified in trial 1. I'm coming. I'm coming. So why did he lawyer up? Who lawyered up? Wait a minute, I'm confused. Higgins lawyered up. So Higgins lawyered up about using federal resources for federal gain. Okay. Okay, gotcha. I took a muscle relaxer this morning. That's why I'm blah. I actually fell asleep a while ago waiting for court to start. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Where are we? What's happening? That slide would have been so fun if I'd not hurt myself on it. And it's weird because the water roller coasters at Typhoon Lagoon, they didn't bother me at all. But Travis said they hurt his back. Do you need me to go check you in? Can you just lay under the table? What are you doing? And I do remember now that Travis said that it did hurt his back a little bit. And I wanted to ride the third one, and he said no. And he made it seem like it was because he didn't want me to have to climb the stairs again. But he told me yesterday no, it was because it hurt his back. He didn't want to ride the third one. But he made me think it was me. Like he didn't want me to have to climb the stairs again. But when the water roller coasters, when there's a super steep drop, you go airborne a little bit and then you slam back down and it hurts your. I hurt my butt bone. Travis said at Typhoon Lagoon, none of the ones at Typhoon Lagoon had the super steep drop like this one did. I mean, this had like a roller coaster drop. It was straight down on a tube. It wasn't like the drop slides, where you have to do this inside the capsule thingy. We were on a raft, a 2-person raft, and it went straight down. So we got airborne, and then when we hit back down, it was like, you skip a rock on the water and it jumps. That's what it felt like my butt was doing against that tube, against the slide. It was like boom, boom, boom. It was several hits right on my butt bone. But the good news is my back doesn't hurt, just my butt bone. Thank God I had that nerve block. So if I hadn't had that nerve block, I would probably be in the hospital right now. But I got a road trip. I got to eat out 2 meals. We went to Perkins for breakfast. Had a good breakfast. Got to swim. Got to float in the lazy river. We did not care for the wave pool or the lazy river. Didn't really like the layout of the park. So it there wasn't enough shade. It was a lot of concrete. So we weren't. The lazy river only had one entrance and one exit. At Typhoon Lagoon, it will take you around the entire park, and it has entrances and exits for like each. If you've ever been to a water park, they have actual towers that'll have like 2 or 3 slides at each tower. So the lazy river at Typhoon Lagoon has entrances and exit at the towers, at the different towers, which is great. Like, yeah, I could rent a wheelchair or a scooter there if I wanted to, but I don't have to because I just get in the lazy river and float around to the next place I want to go. Like, I don't walk anywhere in Typhoon Lagoon. I get in the river and I float to my next destination. I love Typhoon Lagoon. It's great. It's my favorite water park in Orlando. We're gonna get. You can only get seasonal. They don't have like an annual pass, but they have seasonal tickets that you can get. It goes from September to May, I think, and it's $69. But that's $10. No, $5 more than a day ticket is. Through the summer, you can't get a seasonal ticket. There's just the main ticket during the summer months is $75. But if you wait till September, tickets are 65, or you can get a seasonal for 69. So that's $5 more. And then you can go all you want between September and May. And let's face it, it's Florida. You're going to be swimming way into November. September to November, and then probably March or April. And you've got till May. So you're going to get, for $5 more than a regular ticket, you're going to get a lot out of that seasonal pass, even though it's in the fall and winter months. So we were going to upgrade when we went for our anniversary last year. We were going to upgrade, but I called like the next day to upgrade, and they said that you can't do it. If I had done it like at the park as we were leaving, they could have upgraded it then, but you can't like call the next day and upgrade. So they wouldn't let us do that. But I do want to go back to Volcano Bay, because when we went to Volcano Bay, we only did one side of the park. I don't know why we didn't go over to the other side. I was in a lot of pain that day. For the most of the day, I vaped in the little smoking area because I was in so much pain. But that was Travis's birthday present, and the girls went with us, so I just laid on a bench and vaped while they did their thing. My favorite thing at Volcano Bay is they have got, it's not a lazy river, it's like a river rapid thing. You have to wear a life jacket, and you don't get a tube or anything. You have to just swim, but you have to wear a life jacket that they provide, because it's really, really rough water. It's like rapids. Yeah, I love lazy rivers. Come on, you guys. Why do we always have to start the day with a sidebar? Debbie is going to fall asleep today at some point if you guys keep doing sidebars. I, I guarantee it. Because it's probably the most relaxer I took, though. I slept on my neck wrong. So my neck was stiff. When I woke up, I took a muscle relaxer for my neck, and it seems to have worked. It's also made me very sleepy. Include stream because it won't put your comment up. I was gonna say Paul's back in the front row, but that's not Paul, is it? Next to Peggy? Paul's behind Peggy, right? Paul always sits leaned forward like that. Why does he do that? The guy sitting next to Karen's mom, Jill? Yeah, I think Paul's behind Peggy. My cursor's not showing up. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Oh, yeah, I see it now. Those poor kids got their dad's mouth. That's a pretty green dress that chick has on in the back. I swear, y'all, I took one muscle relaxer and I feel like Dr. Nancy. Hi, Dr. Nancy. Why are you a doctor? Wonder why. What if that's just a coincidence or does that represent something? I should have waited till sidebar was over. Hey, Carla. Stay safe out there. I wish I'd stayed safe and not gone down that water slide. I really think if we had done the other slides first and done that one last, that everything would have been fine and we would have had a perfectly good day. But no, I wanted to do the water roller coaster first. Yeah, I'm fine. I just bruised my butt bone, that's all. I don't have any padding back there. My butt is flat as a pancake. No padding. My back isn't hurting at all. Thank God. That nerve block works great. It's just my butt bone. And I keep expecting it to be like black and blue, but there's nothing. But it feels like it should be. That's how much it hurts. I'm just so happy that my back didn't get. I do like your new name. You realize everybody's going to think you're a doctor now, though. My first thought was, I just screwed up my back again. And then the more I walked, the more it hurt. And I was like, oh, great. I'm going to have to go to the hospital on my little mini vacay. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. That's why I was like, let's just go home. Because I figured if I did have to go to the hospital, I wanted to go to my hospital. Oh, good, Nancy. Good, doctor. I'm sorry, Dr. Nancy. It's just going to take some time for the soreness to go away. It was swollen. I put ice on it when we got home. So all day yesterday I had ice on it. The slide was fun. If my butt hadn't been on fire. I just took my regular medicine for it. Just like my anti-inflammatory stuff for the fibromyalgia, and I put ice on it. I got heat on it now. I took an extra muscle relaxer this morning, and I took my THC. That's it. I'll be okay. I can tell it's getting better. Man, that zero G wall. So it started off with a big drop, like a big straight down drop, which I love drops. Travis doesn't. He's like, what is it? Or your stomach goes up in your throat? Like, is that when you drop? Yeah. He says he doesn't like that. Like, even if we're playing a video game with a drop, like where you jump or something, he says he feels like his stomach goes up. He hates it. That's right. Then it went up. That was fun. Around a corner. That was fun. Then another drop. And then went up in this giant zero G wall. And I had watched a couple of little girls do it, two of them on a float. They went like halfway up it. Well, me and Travis, with our combined weight, was heavier. So it slung us all the way to the top. And I was like, oh, that was so much fun. And then we came down backwards. I thought it was so much fun, but my butt was hurting from the first, when we went down first, we got airborne. That bumped my butt against the slide and hurt my butt bone. But still, like the zero D wall, I was like, oh, cool, love it. That was the first time I'd ever done something like that. But then it started walking around and it started hurting worse and worse. And I was like, I don't even think I can climb stairs anymore right now. So that was the end of that. And then we were going to get something to eat. I thought, well, maybe if we eat and sit down and rest, and then I'll be good to go for that. Line was so long for food, and I didn't want to stand in the long line. And I was like, this is going to cost twice as much as it would at a fast food restaurant and be half the quality. And I'm like, no, I'm in pain. I don't want to stand in another line. And it's going to be crappy food for too much cost. So I pulled him out of line and I said, come on, let's go home. That was probably a lot cheaper. So, but it wasn't all bad. And the best part When we went to Typhoon Lagoon for our anniversary last year, I'm terrified of rides. Like once I ride them and find out that I like them, I'm fine. But getting up there to the ride, I feel like I'm gonna puke. Like I literally think I'm gonna die on a ride. Like I'm terrified of them. So when we went to Typhoon Lagoon, just and Travis, then I can sit down or play in the pool or whatever. But they weren't with us when we went to Typhoon Lagoon. So I prayed, please, Lord, let us have a good day. Don't let me be afraid of the slides. It was our anniversary trip. So I prayed that I wouldn't be afraid and we'd have a good time. And I wasn't afraid. I didn't feel like I was going to die. It was just like the fun, kind of scary anticipation of a thrill ride, but it wasn't like fear. And it was like that with this slide. And this slide was much more scary than the roller coaster slides at Typhoon Lagoon. Yay, I'm not afraid of rides anymore. And then it went right as I'm thinking, yay, I'm not afraid. It was ow, 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 ow. So I'm not afraid. I just got hurt really bad because I wasn't afraid. If I'd been afraid, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. That is why God gives us fear, though, a lot of times. Because fear is our signal to don't do that. You're going to get hurt, right? I know, Judy. I don't know. I don't know why this is taking so long. Are you kidding me? I thought the next one was its last. Oh, defense. Never mind. I thought you. I was thinking Commonwealth. I was like, what? Because this is CW's last witness, right? And they're going to rest today, supposedly, or tomorrow, depending on how long this witness lasts. Who else would they have added? Oh, Proctor? So the rumor is Brian Higgins is in rehab. Can they still call him if he's in rehab? Or does that make him unavailable? If you guys didn't watch the collab that Lawyer did with Runkle of the Bailey, you guys need to go watch it. It was so good. So, so good. Peter kept reining in Runkle. It was so cute. Flamati, the last witness for the Commonwealth? No, well, Welcher is supposed to be the last for the Commonwealth, right? Oh, I've lost track of who heard the made up "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." I know, and Peter did too. Peter did a good job. Did a really good job at keeping him reined in. I was proud of him. I mean, Runkle didn't do too bad either. When he went out on a tangent, it was still on point, you know. It wasn't too far afield. And it was interesting. But it was really good seeing, both of their opinions meshing the way it did. Now, he had Melanie Little on the podcast too, which was really good, but Melanie, she is like so in Karen Reed's camp, right? And Peter does things where he gives both sides the benefit of the doubt, and he will say when good things happen for the Commonwealth and when they do things like they should and when they win points, Peter will point that out, right? So Melanie is just camp Karen Reed no matter what. So she kind of acted like she didn't get it whenever Peter was saying things the Commonwealth were doing that was good. So, I mean, I could just like see it on her face. I don't think she got that Peter didn't believe it. Like, I don't think she got that Peter was believing that Karen Reed was innocent. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. But it's not a short break. Once again, court TV needs to not put short break when it's not a short break. But yeah, Melanie kept just like giving him funny looks like, really? But I don't know. Maybe she figured it out before it was over. But he was just doing his thing. Like, he says, he calls it like a referee, like he doesn't have any skin in the game. He just calls it the way he sees it. But then he eventually gets there that, what he thinks. And he doesn't think she's guilty. But with, Melanie won't even say that the Commonwealth has done anything good. 4 hours later. What? It's taking so long. Well, I don't know. Was it a live or a premiere, Judy? Because I watched it on replay. It was it aired at 8:30 in the morning, which would have been 5:30 in the morning for Ian. But I don't know if they aired it live or if it was pre-recorded. Oh, okay. It was a premiere. Because I was thinking maybe it being early in the morning was why he didn't go off on tangents too bad. I mean, he did, but they were mostly stories about clients that he had that kind of related to situations in the Karen Reed case. Which Peter and his dad do that when they're together on the podcast. So, but Pete did a good job at reining him in and keeping him on track. Oh, chatter is defense filed motion to call text buddies of Proctor. Nancy, you haven't missed anything. It didn't start yet. They're on the witness list. Why do they have to file a motion to call them? They're on the witness list. You guys, I'm fixing to have to get rid of a lot of my memberships to channels. Get rid of a bunch of my streaming services that I just simply don't watch. Because I need my universal annual passes back. I'm having withdrawals. They weren't? I could have sworn they were. Well, I don't go to that many channels anymore either. I go to Biggin, Peter, but I don't chat on Peter's because he's got too many people. And if you want him to see anything, you got to do a super chat anyway. I don't know, Jill. Don't ask me. I have the same problem. I keep them because, like, documentaries. But, and occasionally I'll be like, on the weekends, we have nothing to do. I'll be like, hey, you want to watch a movie? And we'll just go to Max and look and see what's playing. But you know what? I can sign up for Max and then say, honey, let's see. You want to watch a movie? Let's see what's on. And then we can watch a movie and then I can unsubscribe and then we have it for that month. And then 3 months later, when I decide I want to watch the movie again, I can resubscribe and say, hey, honey, you want to watch a movie? Like, and then I've got 3 months that I've saved the money it costs to have Max. Like, I don't know why I don't do that. It's stupid. The only one I don't want to get rid of, because I occasionally will put it on and binge watch Criminal Minds or Star Trek, is Paramount Plus. And I really don't want to get rid of Disney either, because I do the same thing. It's got the Star Wars series and it's got the Marvel series, and then of course it's got Disney. So those are the two I would probably keep. But Netflix, no. Peacock, nah. What else do I have? I don't even know what all I have. There was somebody down there from Tennessee that we didn't know, couldn't figure out who he was, and didn't he say one of his buddies lived in Tennessee? There's 3 new episodes? I thought there was only 2. Hey, Idaho. Criminal Minds Evolution is on Paramount Plus. I was doing like recaps and stuff, but I quit because I got behind because I don't like it as much. See, Google just took $5 and that was probably for a membership that I don't even go to anymore. I don't even know what that was. Um it is serialized now instead of one by one. Why was it why was it dedicated to her? Did she die after they did it or something? Okay, that was the third. I thought that was the second. Okay, good. I thought I missed one. That was the one where Spencer came back, right? But just for that episode. Did Linda Lavin die after they filmed it or something? Why did they dedicate it to her? Oh, I didn't know that. I couldn't believe it when I saw her. I went, is that? No, it is. Oh my God. And then I, of course, got my phone out and looked it up. And I was like, well, let me finish telling you about it before you decide. It's getting better now. It's getting better. It's very, very dark and in tone as well as visually. It's extremely dark, way more than the first one was. Like, I have a hard time seeing things sometimes. That's how dark it is. It's serialized because they're after the head of a serial killer network. So the bad guy that they're looking for is in every single episode. And they're on the third season of Evolution now. He's still in every single episode. They're catching other bad guys along the way, but the big bad guy is still. And they caught him, but well, you'll just have to watch it. Like, they caught him, but stuff happened, and it's weird. And when it starts, Emily is not head of the BAU. I forgot what her title was. But then she said she would do that job and be director for the BAU. Rossi's wife that he married in the last season of Criminal Minds, she died of some disease or something. So he's like all screwed up the whole first season. They can cuss now, which I didn't like it at first, but now it seems more realistic because people do cuss, so it kind of seems more realistic. They're using it conversationally. It's not like F this, F that, every other word, So it does kind of, at first it seemed awkward, but now it kind of seems like just conversation, the way people talk. Yeah, there was one in, I can't think it was season 2. That I was literally covering my eyes because I couldn't watch it. And that's not, I'm a horror movie freak. I love, but that was too much. It was the one where the guy was spraying the people with acid. It was really gory. I was like literally covering my eyes and like looking to see if it was over. Yeah. So it's much darker. What I don't like about it is Spencer's not in it. Matt's not in it, but their deaths are still in the bullpen. And they, in the very first episode, they do make a point to mention that Reed and Matt are on assignment. So they're still part of the BAU. Supposedly still part of, or well, I guess maybe not BAU, still part of the FBI, but they're on assignment, some other assignment. So anyways, the episode that they just had, I won't tell you what happened, I won't tell you why, but Spencer comes back just to visit. And Emily was it Emily? Anyway, somebody makes the remark that Spencer's supervisor, sorry, Timu, would you please quit texting me? I'll buy something when I want to buy it. Spencer's supervisor knew JJ from when she worked at the State Department, so gave Spencer the morning off so he could be there. Why does Reed have a different supervisor? Is it a supervisor from the State Department? Well, like what? I'm confused. I'm confused. Like what? So he doesn't work for the BAU anymore then. Why is his desk still in the bullpen? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Sometimes I just think what, and my first thought was how are they going to have this same bad guy every single. I was like, wait a minute now. He's caught. You caught the guy. How are we not going to do the serialized episodes anymore? He's caught. And no, they figured out a way, even with him caught. And now it's going to, I think it's going to work. Like, I get it now. And in case you want to watch it, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I think it's going to work. It took 2 seasons for me to figure out how they were keeping the show on a long-term basis. And what's so fun, I find this hilarious. I mean, it's not really hilarious, it's sad, but so the woman that played the guy's wife on the show is his wife in real life. And in the second season, they have him all locked up. He thinks he's going to get out. He thinks he's made some kind of sweet deal and he's going to get to go free in like 5 years or something like that. So, he doesn't want his wife to divorce him. He wants, he's like, it'll be fine. I'll be out in 5 years. Everything will be okay. We'll be a family again. But no, she wants no part of him. So she wants to divorce him. She wants to go into witness protection, she has 2 daughters. She wants to change everybody's names and never see him again, whatever. So then I read somewhere. So she's not in season 3. Not yet, anyways. I don't know if she's going to be in season 3 because she made it clear she wanted nothing more to do with him whatsoever. And they were going into witness protection. So I read somewhere the other day that in real life, they're getting divorced. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. I mean, it's not really hilarious. It's sad. But so they're divorced. They were together. And they were together on the show. And they were divorced. Now they're divorced on the show. And they're getting divorced from real life. That's crazy. But I think the reason why I don't like it as much is because Spencer's not there. Spencer had well, come on, StreamYard. Thank you, Idaho. Now I don't feel like such a mean person. Spencer had like this kind of innocence that it brought to the show. I think that's gone now with him not being there. Because he was like boy genius at the beginning. And even though he got older, he still always had that innocence to him. Good Lord! What are they doing? Please tell me they're not working on a plea deal or anything. Good Lord. Well, it would help if I clicked on the right email account. Now comes the defendant, Karen Reed, in the above captioned matter and provides the following supplemental list of witnesses the defendant intends to call at trial for the sole purpose of authenticating records. Matthew Coleman, Quincy, Massachusetts. Michael P. Arico, Canton, Massachusetts. Nicholas David White, Milton, Massachusetts. Jonathan.
You are unmuted.
Massachusetts. Was given email the defendant was adding of witness.
Right. I was told counsel wanted to see sidebar again.
Another sidebar? Are you kidding me? Hey, did you guys see that of Alessi with the glare? Where they're like posed? Alessi's ripped, man. 67 years old. Yeah, I had a hard time every time they messed with Spence. Every time. Absolutely. Yeah, Jill, you need to get Paramount Plus. if you do hard, because season 3 is a TNG reunion, you have to get Paramount Plus. It's not that expensive. I think it's like $6.99 a month with commercials. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know your financial situation, but I'm just saying, compared to other streaming services, it's not that bad. You break up Netflix and get with Paramount Plus. Until Alice and Debbie told you to do it, so you have to. There's a movie on Paramount Plus right now I want to see. I need to watch it before they take it off. They might not take it off though, because it is made for Paramount Plus. It's called Novocaine, and it stars Jack Quaid. I love Jack Quaid so much. And he's a guy. It's like an action comedy, but he can't feel pain. So that's why it's called Novocaine, I guess, because he can't feel pain. And I don't know, some bad guys are after him, I guess. I don't know, like, the entire plot, just that he can't feel pain, and it looks hilarious. Jack Quaid is Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's son. He looks like both of them. But he's a good actor. He was in Scream. I don't remember which number now. The reboot one, the one with Randy's niece and nephew. So I don't remember what numbers. He also is the voice of Boimler in Lower Decks. 5. Thank you, just because. That's another thing. Yeah, the one with Jenna Ortega. Yeah. That's another thing, Jill. Lower is hilarious. It's a Star Trek cartoon for adults, and it's a parody, but it's like an homage to Star Trek at the same time, and it has Easter eggs all over it from all the other shows, and it is wonderful.
Great.
Great would be to get started. We've sat here for how long? An hour and 11 minutes. Yes, Jill, you must have it. You must. Like I said, that's one I won't get rid of. Because it has Criminal Minds and too.
You solemnly swear the evidence of the court in case now and here should be truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Good morning, Your
Good
Honor.
morning, sir. So we're going to have a short voir dire. Okay, so Mr. Lessie,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wait. So the jury's not there? That's why it took so long. They brought them in and then had to bring them back out? Come on, people, get your act together.
Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning.
If you look at any documents in answering my question, I appreciate you letting me know that, okay?
Okay,
Do you have any documents open in front of you at this moment?
I do. I have a binder.
Your Honor, I would ask until the question
Can
comes
you
up.
do without it, sir, for a few minutes?
Depending on the question, sure.
Okay, so just let us know if you need to look at it. Don't look at it without
I mean,
permission, please. All right, go ahead, Mr.
Thank you, Your
Alessi.
Honor. Dr. Welcher, you have changed your PowerPoint presentation in the last few days in this case, correct?
I deleted a slide and removed a couple words.
Right, but you've changed your PowerPoint presentation, correct?
Correct. I deleted a slide and deleted a couple words.
Who have you spoken to at the Commonwealth in the last 2 weeks with the Commonwealth? Who have you spoken to?
In the last 2 weeks, Mr. Brannon, Mr. Lowley, Lieutenant Tully,
Anyone else?
I think Mary Ellen Gray,
Anyone else?
the tech person Cindy this morning.
And with regard to those conversations, what prompted those conversations? Who initiated them?
I was originally told I was going to have to be out here last Monday. So there was a whole flurry of conversations around that. I was initially told I may have to give all my rebuttal testimony on a whole huge data set I'd received.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. My question was simply because we have a limited amount of time. Who initiated the conversations?
Oh, there were multiple conversations.
How many?
I have no idea.
More than 10?
I'm sorry?
More than 10?
Probably not.
All right. What did you discuss with, do you understand it's no longer Detective Lieutenant Tully? It's, as I understand, it's Lieutenant Tully. Did you have you said you had conversations with him, correct?
Correct.
When was the first conversation? How many, and what are the nature of those conversations? Within the last 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks. I believe it was when I got here on Saturday night. I informed them I'd landed. And then Sunday morning, he gave me a ride over to the district attorney's office.
And what did you discuss from when you, did you have any discussions with Lieutenant Tully before Saturday, within the last 2 weeks?
Not to my knowledge.
What did you discuss with Lieutenant Tully? Topics.
Give me a time frame.
I keep saying the last 2 weeks. That's the time frame I'm looking
all
at.
the conversations I had with him.
Yes,
Can you have somebody pick me up at the hotel?
I'm talking substantive, sir, about your outline, your PowerPoint presentation. Topics of, what discussions about the topics in your PowerPoint presentation?
I had no discussions with him about the topics of my PowerPoint presentation.
Who did you have discussions with from the Commonwealth about the topics in your PowerPoint presentation?
Mr. Brannon and Mr. Lowley.
Describe those conversations and how many you had, including the first one that you had.
Well, I originally submitted my presentation with my original report way back, I believe in January.
Right. I'm asking for conversations within the last 2 weeks.
Okay, question wasn't clear. Then on Sunday, we just went through top to bottom through my presentation. Mr. Brandon wanted to make sure he understood everything in it. And then I met with Mr. Brandon again on Sunday. We ran through it briefly again. And then that was largely it.
Who suggested the changes to your presentation?
Mr. Brandon.
Mr. Brennan suggested the changes that you make.
He indicated some of the things, for example, the slide I deleted referenced testimony that I was not allowed to include on a slide.
Were there any discussions with anybody from the prosecution team about the changes with regard to the, what I will call the Dighton route, the Dighton distance, and the total mileage? Do you know what slide I'm referring to, sir?
I do, yeah.
Who initiated the discussion on the changes to that slide?
So that slide was changed, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 days ago.
Oh, it was changed 8 or 10 days ago.
Correct.
Were there any changes made from 8 or 10 days ago to what's now in your presentation?
Not beyond what we talked
Oh,
about.
okay. So 10 days ago, those changes were made.
8 to 10
8 to 10.
days ago. I could actually probably figure out exactly when, if you like.
Now my next questions go to Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is a colleague of yours at Aperture, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware of issues relating to the accuracy or inaccuracy of?
Recently, I've been bombarded with emails that have referenced that. I've seen it. I have not read them.
You've been bombarded with them, but you have, and you say unfortunately, but you have not read any of them? None?
Maybe one or two lines. For example, they come in, they're looking like legitimate business emails. And then I pull it.
StreamYard, knock it off.
You intend to present testimony with regard to PowerPoint where you are going to elaborate on your 1231.38 to 1231.43 trigger 1162.2, and you're going to add to what has been Mr. Burgess's change that he made in his May 8th report with regard to the variance time window. Do I have that correct?
No, you don't. It's not based upon a verbal discussion. It's based upon his report.
Oh, so you're going to make, you propose, what you're intending to do is you want to add the change from Mr. Burgess's May 8th report to what you're going to testify to on your PowerPoint. Do I have that correct?
That is correct.
And the only reason you're going to testify with regard to altering the 1231.38 to 1231.43 window is because of what Mr. Burgess has done on May 8th. Is that correct?
It's better data. So I'm altering it and correcting it with better data that I've received from Mr. Burgess.
Right. But my point is, if it weren't for Mr. Burgess's change, you wouldn't be making any changes in your testimony, correct? It's only because of what Mr. Burgess did on May 8th. Is that correct?
Only from his report, correct.
Correct. So, and you understand, sir, that that change has significant effects on the very issues in this case with regard to the timeline and the collision occurred, and comparing it to human volitional conduct of Mr. O'Keefe with regard to his manipulation of the phone. You understand the consequences of that change, do you, sir?
I do. I would disagree with your assertion that it's consequential. Again, my original data, which is in my PowerPoint and has not changed, that data is still there. The timing was extremely close within the error of the measurements, which Mr. Burgess ultimately showed in his subsequent report that was within the variance associated with those timing devices.
I understand, but my point, sir, and I want to understand if I have it correct, is that is going to move the time that you assert the 1162.2 trigger occurred, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that's a substantial change given the issues in this case when seconds matter? Or do you think it's an insignificant change?
I wouldn't say it's insignificant. Again, I haven't modified my PowerPoint at all. I was happy with the data I had and satisfied with the data I had. Again, once presented, I'm sorry.
Please, why do you let him finish?
Yeah.
It brings it closer in time to Ian Whiffin's last contact point data. But even if we don't have that, given what I knew about the variance in the cell phones, my time was still within that window anyway.
Sir, you've just answered my question, which is
Good.
You agree that it affects the timeline in the activity of Mr. Whiffin's report. You said brings it closer. Did I have your words correctly?
Correct. What I was concerned about was your word about significant change. It brings it close. It doesn't necessarily bring it significantly closer. My original timeline was very close, within the range of the accuracy of those types of cell phones, infotainment system data. So even if I didn't have Mr. Burgess's subsequent report, the data is still within that time window.
Sir, isn't it a fact that with the variance of Mr. Burgess that you're now you want to testify to, that there is a change because your 1162.2 trigger 1231.38 to 1231.43, you know that there's a device lock event on the phone of Mr. O'Keefe after that time period. You understand that, correct?
So again, there's a window of plus minus on that. Technically, those timestamps on that are, as you indicated, again, there's literally, I wrote that on my slide. It includes my slide where I have that exact comment.
But my question, sir, is the change means now that with the Mr. Burgess variance moving, you now have part of the moving range that occurs after the device lock, whereas before your change, the device lock occurred after every bit of your range of 1162.2. I have that correct, don't I, sir?
You do.
Okay.
Okay, so
Your Honor,
that's it.
that's all I needed. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to bring the jury in. Are they outside the door? You may as well stay right there.
Thank you.
Okay? I'll see you at Tide Bar.
Oh, for crying out
No, you
loud.
can come in.
So what did he get out of that? I just let my phone auto lock most of the time. Usually if I lock it myself, it's because I want to see the picture of my husband on my lock screen.
So we took up a lot of your time this morning. I think the coffee and donuts and muffins was probably a hint that we were taking longer than what we ordinarily would do. I do appreciate your patience. So I have to ask you those questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we met last week? Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left here last week? No. Thank you. With that, Mr. Brennan?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sir, can I have you stand and raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear the evidence given to the court and jury in the case now hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. May I refer to my resume? May I refer to my resume?
All right, Mr. Brennan,
Thank
whenever
you.
you're ready.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Brennan.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name for the court reporter who's next to you?
Absolutely. My name is Judson Welcher. My first name is Judson. Last name is Welcher, Welcher.
Sir, what do you do for a profession?
I'm an accident reconstructionist and biomechanical engineer.
I'd like you to explain to us a little bit about what an accident reconstructionist does.
Sure. You can think of accident reconstruction and things such as this as the physics and engineering that happens in car crashes. So accident reconstruction tends to deal with everything that happens to the car and outside the car vehicle, things that have to do with the motion forces and how the physics of everything occurred and how that affected the motion of the vehicles.
You said that you were an accident reconstructionist, but also a biomechanical engineer. How is your work as a biomechanical engineer different than an accident reconstructionist?
So simply, you can think of biomechanics as similar, but to everything inside the car. So biomechanics is looking at how the effects of physical forces are applied to the human anatomy. When I'm trying to explain to somebody what I do, I say, hey, it's like a civil engineer who's designing a bridge. So many trucks and cars on the bridge. Are that going to cause the beams in the bridge to fail? Is that going to cause the cables to fail? So a human body is governed by the same laws of physics, just like the bridge. Obviously, it's made of a lot of different materials, but in a human body, my beams are bones. My cables are the muscles and ligaments. Different material properties, but everything's governed by the laws of physics and principles of engineering. So I'm looking at how physical forces, the outside of the car, when people are inside the car, seat belts, airbags. The first seatbelt was patented by an engineer. It's engineers who quantify the force of the crash and what kind of injury damage there is to the body. So it is force that causes damage like a fracture body and what that means in terms of what happens to the body.
Dr. Welcher, I want to ask you a little bit about how you became a biomechanical engineer and an accident reconstructionist. Can you tell us?
Sure. So when I was getting ready to go to college, my father, who was a physician, said, whatever you do, do not go to medical school. Because I was getting ready to go to medical school. So this was 39 years ago, I believe. 35 years ago, 39 years ago. He said, it's just not worth it. So I said, okay. So then I entered into the mechanical engineering.
Are you
I
kidding
grew up
me?
riding motorcycles, taking things apart, frequently pissing my parents off when I couldn't put it back together. But I like taking things apart and figuring out how things worked.
What
So
doctor
I went
says that?
to university and got my undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering. From there, I happened to be at a Thursday meeting of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. A group came in from a company that did this type of work, and they showed some examples of how you apply engineering concepts that you learn in mechanical engineering to the human body. And so I was like, man, that's a great job. That's the perfect mix of engineering that I have and my desire, to learn the medical side of things as well without becoming a doctor. So I talked to them. I actually applied to the company and was ultimately hired as a biomechanical engineer.
How long did you continue as a biomechanical engineer until you went back to school?
So I actually, very quickly after I started the job, I took a human anatomy class at a community college. I quickly realized that wasn't enough. And so in around 1993, I went to the USC Medical School and enrolled through what's called concurrent enrollment, which means you can take the class, but you're not actually in medical school. It's a medical school class. But I took gross human anatomy. So it was me and 160 or so other doctors. I took the same human anatomy that first year medical students at USC took. So it began in 1993.
Did you continue to work as you pursued your higher education?
I ultimately started my own company, continued to work, continued to do research, had a wonderful opportunity to have two beautiful children, and continue to this day.
Tell us a little bit about the company you started and when.
Sure. So in about October of 1994, I started my own company. Me and the guy who was my immediate supervisor said, hey, we can do this better. We can do more research, more testing. And so we started our own company.
What kind of company was it?
It was a action reconstruction and biomechanical engineering company. We also early on did a bunch of testing and design work for amusement park rides. The same concepts for car crashes applies to roller coasters, basically anything. So we worked and had some contracts on improving ride safety. And I was also on the ASTM committee that looked at amusement park ride designs.
Did that company grow from 2 people?
Correct. We took it from 2 to about 25 people, and then we ultimately sold it in right around January 1st of 2022.
Before 2022, did you obtain a master's degree?
I did.
And what was that in and where was that from?
So again, I was working full time. Actually, while I was doing my master's degree, I was also teaching classes at Texas A&M through their law enforcement training division. So it was extension classes. But I ultimately completed my master's thesis in December of 2001. That was from USC, University of Southern California. And I received my master's degree in biomedical engineering. I wrote my thesis. It was basically on automotive seat design, but it was titled Whiplash-Associated Disorders, Related Anatomy, Biomechanics of Injury, and the relationship between injury potential and automotive seat design.
Your Honor, if I may, pardon the interruption. If Dr. Welcher reads from this report, which I think he just did, can we know if he's doing that?
Sure. Dr. Welcher asked me if he could refer to his resume, and I said yes. So if you read, just let us know.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And it's my resume, not my report.
Your resume, did I say?
No, you did. He said report.
Yeah, no, it's his resume.
You share with us that your company continued to grow until you ultimately sold it in 2022. During that time, did you continue to pursue higher education after you obtained your master's degree?
I did. So again, ever since 1993, I've been slowly pursuing higher education, both obtaining my master's degree as well as my PhD. During that time frame, I also published 20 peer-reviewed scientific publications. I taught for 5 years at Texas A&M and served as a peer reviewer for both the Society of Automotive Engineers and for a short period on the Archives of Physical Medicine. So I was working and running a company with my co-creator, as well as teaching, conducting research, publishing, also while going to school part-time.
Take us to 2011. Were you still pursuing education at the University of Southern California?
I was.
And what occurred? What did you achieve in 2011?
So in August of 2011, I finally obtained my PhD in biomedical engineering. I wrote my dissertation, reading from my resume, titled Development, Validation, and Testing of a New Sensor Array for Intra-Articular Pressure Measurement, In Vitro Human Lumbar Spine, Intra-Articular Facet Testing, which is a lot of big words to say. I was testing cadaver spines, looking at the loads inside the spines associated with various motions of the spine.
Did you achieve your PhD in biomechanical engineering?
It's actually in biomedical engineering. Biomechanics is within the field of biomedical engineering.
So you have a PhD in biomedical engineering.
Correct.
You mentioned that you have published many articles. Have there been articles that you have published that are relevant to some of the subjects that you're going to talk about during your testimony?
I mean, I have a number of, again, peer-reviewed scientific publications. Peer review just means you submit it to a journal and they have other people review it, give you comments, your peers in the field. I do believe there are a number of them that could certainly be relevant to both the physics and, for example, pedestrian injuries.
If I could mention a few. You wrote an article on sideswipe collision dynamics. What's sideswipe collision dynamics?
So I was actually an invited speaker at the World Congress, or sorry, not the World Congress, the World Reconstruction Expedition. Asked me to give a preside impact collisions that would include side collisions, glancing collisions, shallow angle impacts, such as like a corner of a bumper goes into the side of a car, any kind of glancing or clipping type impact.
Quantifying the impact severity of low-speed side impacts at varying angles.
It is.
Tell us a little bit what that.
So that was a Society of Automotive Engineers paper. Again, another peer-reviewed paper that we worked on. It was kind of an extension or continuation of all that research, where we just looked at the physics and the mathematics, basically the reconstruction of glancing or sideswipe type impacts.
Similarly, methods for quantifying the impact severity of low-speed side impacts at varying angles. Is that similar to the other papers, or was that different?
Yeah, that was the same one.
If I can continue, another article or publication that you wrote, occupant kinematics and loading in low-speed lateral impacts. What does that mean?
So, of course, of my career, I've done probably 12 to maybe 1,300 actual crash tests. I've crashed everything from skateboards, mopeds, up to trains, motorhomes, and ambulances. I've conducted, relative to this case, been involved 50 to maybe 70 pedestrian impact tests. So the low speed side impact one is we actually put human volunteers in side impact collisions. And what we did is we had accelerometers, which are things that measure Newton told us force equals mass times acceleration. So knowing the acceleration of something, you can get an idea of how much force is applied to it. So we have various sensors on the body. We have various sensors on the car for the reconstruction aspects of it. So that study was biomechanics portion. And the first paper we read about the reconstruction was the reconstruction portion. So the first paper we discussed was everything else inside the car. Then we have the forces applied.
I like Trooper Paul's physics better. That was funnier. His is by the book. That's not fun.
Studies about the force applied to people outside of a car.
I don't know if I'd say a lot, but I was an invited lecturer to the Accident Reconstruction and Collision Safety Institute conference, where I specifically gave a paper and a series, or basically a lecture, which was exactly as the name implies. You know, what happens to pedestrians when they're impacted predominantly by cars and vehicles.
How much of your work
But was John O'Keefe hit by a car? Can you say that? Because that's what we need to know.
involves pedestrian impacts?
Probably maybe 10%, 5 to 10%. Most of it's car to cars.
Biomechanics of low-speed impacts. Is that another paper that you wrote?
That is a paper I wrote.
I don't want to read all of your papers and all of your publications, but on a different topic, did you write a paper on the study of the measurement of Generation 2 Toyota event data recorders and low-speed side impacts?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what measurement of event data means in this
So Toyotas, newer Toyotas particularly, have two types of electronic equipment on board that can record crashes. There is what's referred to as an event data recorder, or EDR. It's somewhat commonly referred to as a black box. It's not exactly right, but it's close. And then there's a secondary system, which is really more closely tied to maintenance. That's called TechStream, but it will pick up data that you can frequently relate back to various events. So that particular paper was looking at the event data recorder data in Toyotas.
We'll get more into that subject later, but is it event data recorders a subject that you're well schooled at?
Yes.
In addition to the papers that you've written, have you continued through the years and after becoming a PhD, your research in this area, in these areas?
Correct. For example, every year we're part of a conference called SATI, which is our company, largely led by the engineer Christopher Furbish that we work with, has spearheaded us going out and conducting crash tests for that conference for 10 years. We did a lot of the instrumentation and crash testing at the Accident Reconstruction and Collision Safety Institute conference. And then for a number of years, I actually, the company actually went down and did crash testing referred to as a Spine Research Institute down in San Diego. So we've been hired by various professional organizations. We came out here once, the Massachusetts Association of Accident Reconstructionists, I think I'm messing the name up, had a conference. We came out here, conducted crash tests for training of that. We did all the instrumentation, the mechanics of that crash testing.
In your research and testing, you have with dates of the research testing you've done. There's over a dozen of the research and testing items and articles that deal with pedestrians. Is that a common topic in your research and testing?
Yes. So again, frequently at the conference, we're doing pedestrian tests. The last Accident Reconstruction Collision Safety Institute conference, there was a series of pedestrian crash tests run there. SATI 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, some pedestrian crash tests that were done there as well. So there are a number of instances on my resume where I have both attended class, and then I mentioned the one time where I gave an hour and a half long lecture on pedestrian injuries.
After you became a PhD or a doctor, do you continue your education and research?
Correct. I've always continued my education and research up until, I just got back from the event data or Accident Reconstruction Collision Safety Institute EDR conference, or the Event Data Recorder Summit. My company, through my relationship with the founder of that summit, was a sponsor. So Aperture was actually a sponsor of that conference. We actually sponsored it the previous year as well. And also as part of that, I assisted one of the researchers in conducting, it's called front camera module testing for pedestrian impacts on Chrysler vehicles. General Motors vehicles.
As a biomedical engineer, are there any groups, organizations, or certifications that are important?
I think ACTAR is important. So ACTAR is an acronym. It's AC for the Accreditation Commission for Traffic Accident. A bunch of professional groups, originally from some concerns, I believe, from the Department of Transportation, got together and set standards for reconstructionists. Again, these are kind of minimum standards. You have to show, you send in your resume, you talk to them about your research, and then if you're deemed qualified, you sit for an examination that tests your skills, day-long test, theory, a practical portion, and then every 5 years you have to have 60 continuing education units to become reaccredited. I've been an accredited accident reconstructionist since February of 1995, and my accreditation is current and active up through today.
So you've been accredited for 30 years?
Yeah, correct.
I don't want to trick you on the math.
No, I never thought about it, but yeah, I guess it has been 30 years.
Have you testified in court before?
I have.
Have you testified in state courts? Have you testified in federal court?
I have. Matter of fact, in Boston.
Have you ever testified in civil cases?
Yes, I have.
Have you testified being called by the plaintiff?
I have.
Have you ever testified being called by a defendant in a civil case?
Yes.
Have you testified in criminal cases?
I have.
Have you ever been called by the state or the government?
Yes.
Have you ever been called by a defendant?
Correct. Public Defender's Office.
In any of the cases, whether it's civil, criminal, plaintiff, defendant, government defendant, does that in any way change your analysis about data regardless of who or where you testify?
No, I take my job is to be a critical analysis of the data. So I wanted to look at the data as objectively as possible and form conclusions based upon the data, trying to remove wherever possible speculation, try to remove wherever possible reference to testimony. Now, sometimes testimony is the only thing we have. And so we need to rely on it for bits and pieces. But generally, my job is to try and look at data and see what the data shows. I have no dog in this fight. I don't, quite frankly, care. What I'm doing is trying to do a good engineering job, which is looking at the data and drawing sound principles and sound conclusions from the data.
Presently, you said you had a company and you sold it. Where do you work?
It's a company called Aperture. I guess we were acquired or merged into it technically.
How many offices do you know if Aperture has?
Oh God, I should know that. I mean, we have them in Massachusetts. We have them in, I think there's 3 or 4 in Texas. There's, I think, 4 or 5 in California. So I want to say there's at least, I don't know, 13 to 15.
Do you work at a particular location?
I do.
Where do you work?
Long Beach, California.
Do you work with other people? Do you have a team?
I do.
How many people are on your team?
5.
And what's the team comprised of?
It,
Is everybody a PhD and engineer?
one individual is a PhD in engineering, Dr. Umali. And then I have 3 other engineers and 1 case reader. I guess it's 6 people. I have a case manager as well.
Is there any, do you work interchangeably at the different branches around the country, or do you have your own team in California that you work with?
99% of the time, it's my own team. Occasionally, we'll get a case from another office. I've worked on a couple cases out of the Texas office and maybe a couple out of the Nevada office.
Our defense is out of Texas.
Were you asked to look at any data or information relative to this case?
Yes.
In looking at data and information, do you try to look at a narrow or broad range of information?
So I definitely cast a very broad range. We try and get as much information as possible. And then, weed it down to what is important, weed it down to what is consistent with the data. So start off very big and then get down to sort of the meat and potatoes of it, the important information.
Do you necessarily rely on everything you look at?
No, I certainly consider everything I look at, but I frequently don't rely on everything because sometimes it's not reliable or it's irrelevant.
In this case, can you share with us materials generally that you looked at in your review?
Sure. Your Honor, may I read from my report?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Reporter, I apologize. It's a lengthy list. Slow? So I have police reports, including the Canton PD incident report, and I have 8 other reports, also the 34 Fairview Road Rams final report or CARS report. I have the ring video from Mr. O'Keefe's residence. I believe that's One Meadows. I have the cruiser cameras, which are the police vehicles, onboard cameras, both front and rear cameras from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe 10 different videos. I have photos and videos of the scene from Sergeant. I have photos of the vehicles, 140 photographs of the vehicles lined up together. I have 25 additional photographs of the scene, 18 separate photographs of the scene, 2 photographs of the scene, 1 group of 92 of the scene, 1 group of 50 of the scene, another video showing the cars lined up bumper to bumper, 4 videos of the scene. I have a video showing you the Sally Port at the Canton Police Department. I have a 360 diagram, surveillance video files from McCarthy's, surveillance video files from Waterfall Bar, Canton Police. I have the Lexus Connect Verizon records. I have the alarm.com videos. I have a video of the tow truck arriving at the Canton Police Department. One titled Native Location, John O'Keefe's Phone. Past witness statements. The report of examination from the coroner. Jennifer McCabe Cellbrite data. Something called Lexus Infotainment. Different past summary testimony of numerous witnesses. I have earlier summary testimony of numerous witnesses. The Boston Magazine interview with Miss Reed, a Dateline interview with Miss Reed, a 2020 interview with Miss Reed, lab reports from BODE, the Crime Scene Response Unit Boston, Crime Scene Service Section, Maynard, Crime Scene Service Section, Southeast, the Criminalist File Folder, Trace File Folder, UC Davis Veterinary Report. I have Verizon records, GPS location records, John O'Keefe GPS points, Axiom cache location, weather reports, medical records, including the Canton Fire Department run report for both Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed, medical records for both Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed from Good Samaritan. I have 2 retrograde extrapolation reports, one, and a serum plasma conversion report relative to Miss Reed. I have the neuropathology report. I have the Orange County Medical Examiner's report, the diagrams, the postmortem toxicology report, and a second same autopsy report, more pages.
In addition to the information that you reviewed, did you on your own go out and obtain information that you thought might be helpful for your review?
I did. So first what happened is I asked for all the information on the case. So I received some information, and then what we do is we start doing our homework. So we start doing the groundwork. So once I received some of the information, what I did was, modern cars have what's called a VIN number or vehicle identification number. It's a unique 17-digit number. So what we'll do is we'll decode that VIN number, and that gives us information about the vehicles. So I did that for Miss Reed's 2021 Lexus, as well as Mr. O'Keefe's 2019 Chevy Traverse. So ran the VIN numbers, use the VIN numbers. It tells us year, make, model, safety equipment, things like that. I then got dimensional data from a program called Expert Autostats. And then I have complete parts diagrams for the vehicles. So I have literally bumper to bumper parts diagrams from something called the Mitchell Collision Estimating Guide. And what that is shows parts, involved in the vehicle. So for example, in Miss Reed's vehicle, I have bumper to bumper. I certainly have all the parts around the rear bumper and tail light of her vehicle. And then of course I started additional work on top of that.
After you began your studies, sir, did you have an opportunity to personally look at items that were involved in this case?
Yes, I did.
And what did that include?
That included looking at Miss Reed's vehicle, looking at Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, going to the scene of the incident. I ultimately purchased a 2021 LX 570, the exact year, make, and model of Miss Reed's vehicle, and conducted testing with that vehicle, as well as doing a whole bunch of research and compiling data for my report and slides.
You mentioned slides. When you went through your investigation analysis and ultimately led to whatever conclusions you have, did you provide and create a PowerPoint presentation that could assist you?
I did. I provided a PowerPoint presentation on January 30th.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm handing you a binder. Would you kindly take a look at it?
Okay.
So does that appear to be a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you prepared for us today?
It appeared, 141 pages, didn't look at every page, but it looks right.
All right, I asked Marcus for identification.
141 pages? What? We have to do a 141 page PowerPoint?
With the court's permission, I'd like to have Dr. Welcher use his PowerPoint presentation to walk us through some of the information he'd like to share today.
Okay, no objection, Mr. Lessie, right?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm looking at a paper version in front of me.
Okay, is the paper version the same as what we're going to see up here?
It is.
Okay, then that's fine.
Thank you. And Dr. Welcher is going to manage the PowerPoint presentation. Sir, you mentioned that you wanted to look at the area and look at the scene. Your office is in California.
It is.
Why was it important to come all the way out to this area to see the scene firsthand?
Hold on a second.
I'll let you set up before I start asking you more questions.
We went through this, had it working perfectly. There we go.
Okay.
So that's me. No, that's my first slide. No.
I
Again,
have a couple questions for you, Dr. Welcher.
please.
The first is your office is in California.
Oh, yes, sir.
Why was it important to come all the way out here and view the scene firsthand?
And you want to have as much information as possible. So I wanted to, physically look at all the things so I can actually see with my own hands, my own eyes, lay hands upon it, look at it as best I can. You try and inspect and look at as many things as you possibly can. Sometimes they don't exist anymore. Sometimes they're gone. And you have to make a best approximation if you can't do that. In this case, I was able to look at the scene in both vehicles.
Was that an important part of your study, Doctor?
I think so. Again, it's always good if you're going to talk about what happened to the cars or what happened to the people, to look at what happened to the cars, meaning to actually look at the cars, not just look at photographs when possible. So I have physically looked at the cars. For example, on the Lexus, I climbed in it, over it, underneath it. I downloaded data from it. I did a whole bunch of things looking at Miss Reed's Lexus to assist in my analysis to try and add some further objective data to what we're doing here. So same thing with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Looked at the rear bumper, took some pieces off the rear bumper to see what was behind the cover, to see what kind of damage we did or didn't have. So went to the scene, looked at the measurements of the curb, looked at where some of the lines are on the road because you can see them in some of the photographs. Again, it's always good when possible to inspect everything you can inspect.
If you could now begin and tell us how you started your investigation.
Sure. So on September 23rd, I had an opportunity to come out. Mr. Brandon was the first time I ever met you on that day, I believe. And I had received material before that. And what you see here is, this is my inspection of Miss Reed's vehicle. In the upper left photograph, you'll see, oh, this doesn't work very well. Upper left photograph, that's Miss Reed's vehicle. That's Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, the Chevy Traverse.
So that's with you standing with your arm down by your side. and it, when you're just standing there with your arm by your side and it hits between your wrist and your elbow.
And then what you see here is a laser scanner. You can see it on the ground here. Laser scanner is creating a 3D model of the vehicles. So I use that to create a 3D model of the vehicles. You can see me in the upper right photograph. That watch is this watch right here, my Garmin watch. And what I'm doing is looking at the construction composition of that right rear corner of the bumper. I'm looking at things such as the dimensions, where various lights and components are, and how does the geometry of that bumper relate to things that would be hit when backed into.
Dr. Welcher notes this is 9/23/94. Is that an accurate date of when you came and first started looking at the vehicles in the area?
You said 24, correct?
I did.
You said 9/23/24, correct. And then on the slide, what I tried to do is underline what I'm doing. So this is inspection of the Reed Lexus. And as noted, I'm only showing you a couple. I actually took 445 photographs.
Do you remember when you began this case, the month of the date?
No, it was obviously before this, I had material before I came out to look at the vehicles.
You think it was months before this?
I don't think it was months. No, it was maybe a month, if not less.
So you began your work in the fall of 2024?
Correct.
And I just want to ask you about the picture in the middle. You see the right taillight housing is missing. Did you
Correct.
understand that had been removed prior to you looking at the car?
It was, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. However, some of the evidence stickers, these white stickers here, were still on the vehicle.
You did not place those. Did you place those stickers on yourself?
I did not.
Were they there when you first saw the car?
Correct. They match what I'd seen in other photos.
Thank you.
So just continuing on. So what you see is, again, I mentioned looking underneath the bumper. So we wanted to see what, if anything, was damaged on the corner. So I'm putting my hand to show where the frame rail ends. This is me looking up underneath to the back side of this taillight. If you can see, this red taillight actually sticks out. And so I'm checking the front here for damage. I'm checking the back for damage.
1 second, please. Okay, doctor, when you were looking for damage on the previous slide, did you find any damage to that lower right red taillight?
No, there was no damage to the taillight.
The middle picture is from the inside, looking at the inside of that taillight. Was there any damage to the inside of that taillight?
There was not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, looked at the height of it. I mentioned this lower taillight. Notice how the structure of the bumper protrudes out. You can see one of the marks, which is consistent with the contact to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Here, this scratch mark, or scuff mark. Notice how close it is to this light. Again, some of the evidence, stickers. Just a better view of those, then going down the side of the vehicle. So with all that information, I mentioned a laser scan. So you move this laser scanner, and each minute and 51 second scan is collecting about 50 million data points. And so you scan all the way around, and then what you do is you merge all that data together. So even though this looks like a poor photograph, what you're seeing is hundreds of millions of photographs, hundreds of millions of points. And so you literally can figure out, if you wanted to know the distance from this lug nut to where the lighter is on the ashtray, you could probably do that to an accuracy of about 2 to 3 millimeters. So really, taking tons and tons of data. So it knows the exact position of every one of these millions of data points, and it knows the color associated with those data points.
Why is that data imaging so important in accident reconstruction?
You want to have an accurate model of the car. So I mean, you probably don't need literally that many points to get an accurate model, but that's just the nature of the way the science is going. Computers are getting better and faster. Scanners are getting faster. So you get an enormous amount of data when you use these scanners nowadays. So then, as indicated on the underline here, I did a CDR. That's a little different than what you heard me say before. CDR is crash data retrieval. So that's the hardware and software that you use to download or actually copy or take an image of, which means you're just taking an image off what's on the vehicle, the EDR, which is the event data recorder. So you use the crash data retrieval hardware to download the event data recorder, otherwise commonly known as a black box. So I downloaded the black box from this vehicle, and although you can hardly read it here, again, I mentioned there are two systems on this vehicle. This is the CDR system or EDR system. There's also the text stream. The EDR system, this system is primarily to manage the safety components, protect the occupants of the Lexus. So things like fire the airbag, fire what's called a pretensioner, keep track of the severity of the crash to decide whether we need to fire the airbag. So it's not really designed for pedestrian impacts. So when we downloaded this vehicle, we got what's called a none file. A none file simply means that there's no data there. The system's working properly. We had no fault codes, but for a car hitting a pedestrian to cause a file here, this is really more designed for car-to-car impacts, something that's going to have a significant impact on the occupant. Mr. O'Keefe's only 216 pounds, so it's not going to register from hitting a pedestrian.
Were you surprised that there was no information about a collision in the EDR?
No, exactly what I expected. Okay, I mentioned the second system. So as underlined up here, this is the text stream. So this is from Toyota text stream data. You can see the screens here. There's generally two types of files, what's called a vehicle control history and a PCS file. The PCS file is the, God, I forgot the name of it, the protection system. So I also looked at Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Sorry, PCS is pre-collision system. Looked at Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, same thing, took a series of photographs, laser scanned it, looked in it, underneath it, behind it. I mentioned taking some of the bumper parts off. So I took this rear cover off here to look at the damage behind the bumper cover. Most cars have what's referred to as a face bar. That's that piece of metal that you see here. And there's a piece of energy absorber here. That's your face bar. So I'm looking to see if there's any damage to that. There was no damage to that.
Before you go forward, I want you to take a couple steps back because I want to ask you some questions to explain
Please.
text stream data. Could you go back a couple slides, please?
Sure.
You mentioned that in the EDR, which is similar to a black box, there was no information found. And then you mentioned a different system, the text stream. Can you make it clear for us how these systems are different and where they're stored on a motor vehicle?
Sure. I mean, a lot of data is stored in a similar location. The text stream system was originally designed, according to Toyota, for maintenance issues. It seemed to come about around the same time Toyota was having problems with sudden accelerations or allegations of sudden accelerations. So the text stream data or vehicle control history will give you information when there's, for example, excessive acceleration or rapid shifting of the vehicles or rapid steering of the steering wheel. So the statements are that that's designed to help the maintenance people, if you come in with a problem with your vehicle, to diagnose what that problem is. It has a lot of utility in accident reconstruction, because if you jam on the brakes before a crash, frequently the TechStream data will record the crash.
You mentioned Toyota a number of times. Could you share with us the relationship between Toyota and Lexus?
Sorry, in my mind, they're the same thing. Toyota and Lexus, obviously a little different, but Lexus is basically made by Toyota. So Toyota and Lexus has the Lexus safety system. Toyota has the Toyota safety systems, which you both read with the TechStream data.
The TechStream data, in this case, does it play an important role in your analysis?
I think so, yes.
The TechStream data, did you independently download that data yourself?
So I independently downloaded it, and then I also ran a test with Miss Reed's vehicle, and I created a new TechStream file so that I had a stamp in the ignition cycles of what the current ignition cycle was. So I did a sudden acceleration test of the vehicle in her Lexus.
When you did the downloading, why did you do it yourself?
Again, you, whenever possible, want to be the one that does it, make sure it's done correctly, and be able to say, hey, how do I know that's from that vehicle? Well, I know because I was the one who did it. And so if I get it from someone else, then they frequently have to bring that person in the court to say the other ones that did it, so then I can use it. So if I do it myself, it eliminates that problem, and then I have no concerns over where it's coming from. So then I know hey, I did it. This is the right car. This is the right program.
You left us at slide 10 when you were inspecting Mr. O'Keefe's car?
Correct. So again, simply a blue arrow indicating that I looked down behind all this stuff, took measurements of it, and then similarly, I have a 3D point cloud of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. So part of the reason we're making these 3D point clouds, and we'll touch on this further, in addition to the scene, you can then basically put all these things back together in the computer. So instead of having to drive the cars to the scene, for example, or to Mr. O'Keefe's residence, you can take these computer models and additional data and put it back in the computer and reconstruct everything on the computer. So before we had the exact angle of impact, again, this is for looking at when Ms. Reed contacted Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, backing out of Mr. O'Keefe's garage at One Meadows. I lined them up just to generally show the approximate location. A couple things, notice how, again, this lower portion of the Lexus bumper sticks out. Notice how the side of the Chevrolet slopes in as you get higher up. So this portion sticks out more than this portion. And this is where you would expect any contact damage to occur, assuming there was an impact. So again, looking at the measurements up the height of the vehicle, of course, as you indicated, Mr. Brown, the taillight's gone. And then went to the scene. So same thing, went to the scene, took, again, 297 photographs of the scene, had our people scan it to create a computer model of the scene. So, literally, if you wanted to know the distance from this window to, say, some manhole cover on the road, we have the data to figure that out, down to a couple millimeters.
In addition to going to the scene and doing the digital mapping, you mentioned other review of materials. Did you have an opportunity to review dash cam footage from Canton Police Department police vehicles to see the general location of where Mr. O'Keefe was when first responders were assisting him?
Objection, Your Honor.
So that's just a yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the TechStream download. So this is a screenshot from the text stream download. Keep in mind, this is kind of maintenance software. So we're looking at a number of things in the maintenance software. What we see is, and this is noted in the report too, that when the vehicle gets into the Canton Police Department after this event, you can see the mileage is 12,665 miles. So that shows up in Trooper Paul's report. It shows up in the photographs, and it shows up as matching the mileage in the text stream data, both at triggers 1164 and triggers 1167.
I'd ask you if you can enlarge the data on the right and break down what it actually means, the different columns and the.
Okay, now we do the trigger thing again.
Is it possible for you to enlarge that?
I'm lost now when I start talking about triggers.
My fingers are too fat.
Thank you.
Okay. So what you're looking at is what I called event 1162. If you see anything in blue on these charts, that's information that I added. I typically put my initial, JBW, Judson Blair Welcher, that's me. And so this is referred to as the key cycle trip. So key cycle is simply you turn it on, not necessarily turn the ignition on, turn it on, turn it off. That's one key cycle. So I labeled this one 1162-2 because there's also one that's on the same key cycle that I'm calling 1162-1. The system also records the mileage. So again, this is a maintenance system generally. So what you see is the T here is the trigger, and there's a point. So this time in the text stream data, you could think of it as like a stopwatch. It's when it starts when the car turns on and stops when the car turns off. And then if it sees a triggering event, a T, it records that information. So this is when the trigger happened. So that's 1,142.2 seconds. And so I've converted that to minutes and seconds because most people don't think in seconds. And so what it also does is once it sees a trigger, it's constantly circulating data through the computer. So when it says, okay, we have a trigger, it saves 5 seconds before the trigger and then 5 seconds after the trigger. So the trigger's in the middle and you have 5 seconds of data before and 5 seconds of data after.
I have a couple of questions for you,
Please.
Dr. Welcher. First, starting with the clock, the time in seconds on the left. You mentioned that begins when the car is turned on. What type of clock is that called?
It's just a continuous clock, meaning it's not a clock like a time clock. It's more like a stopwatch kind of clock.
Has it ever been referred to as a running clock?
It's the same thing. You start the stopwatch, it's running.
Based on the text stream data alone found in that one spot, can you tell from the data in the text stream alone what time the power was turned on?
No, not alone. It simply tells you how long it's been on. It doesn't necessarily immediately tie it back to a clock time. You need additional information.
And so this in and of itself, the text stream data doesn't give you a certain time on a clock, like 1 o'clock or 2:30, anything like that.
No, it simply tells you in this case, when the trigger occurred, it's been on for 19 minutes and 2 seconds.
You also mentioned that there's a 10-second window of information this captures, 5 seconds before the T and 5 seconds after the T, the triggering event.
Correct.
Sustained, ask it differently.
That window of 10 seconds, what happens if that doesn't capture the entire event? What if there's something before or after? What does the text stream data do?
So it depends on what the something is. So if there's another trigger, then it will record more data. So you can have 2 triggers that are recording things on the same time window as well. or very close to the same time window. So you need another trigger to keep it going. But in essence, what it does is when it sees a trigger, it saves that 10-second window and then just keeps monitoring things until it sees another trigger.
If the data captures a trigger, and it has a 10-second window, and an event continues past that 10 seconds, so past the 5 seconds on either side, and there's no further trigger, do you get any other information from the text stream data?
No. For example, in the trigger event, and say 5 seconds later, the vehicle's still moving, well, the data just ends. And it says it's going, I don't know, 17 miles an hour, for example. It doesn't continue on. We just know that when the trigger ended, it was going 17 miles an hour.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so we have mileage recorded in this system. So what we're trying to do is use the available data to see if we can determine, you know, like what event this is, or is this the event, or is this something that could have occurred outside 34 Fairview on the evening of this event? And so one of the things we're utilizing is the mileage. Okay, so 12629 is at the end of event number 2 on the 1162 ignition cycle. When the vehicle ultimately comes into the impound yard, and this is actually before that, comes into the impound yard, it has 12,665 miles. That's a difference, did the math for you here, of 36 miles. Okay, let's consider where that could have come from. So we looked at the various paths and descriptions of where Miss Reed's Lexus was driven after leaving 34 Fairview on the night of this event, up until the point in time the vehicle ended up at the Canton Police Department. So we used Google Maps. We adjusted for the correct date and time of the year. And then what you'll also see is we adjusted for the correct time of day. So although you can't really see that, let me see if I can blow it up. So you can see that's looking at the mileage and time. Again, really didn't use the time, just used the mileage on Saturday, January 29th at around 12 a.m. That, of course, does not take into account the weather.
And what are the addresses? It's hard to see on the top from where to where.
So this is from 34 Fairview to 1 Meadows Avenue, which is Mr. O'Keefe's residence.
And there are other mileage that you have there?
Correct. So we basically ran through the entire path as we understood it. Again, we didn't have complete information. We didn't know the exact roads. We didn't know if turned around, stuff like that. So you're seeing the suggested available paths, and we end up with a range of data. So we go through all the paths, and you can see that this is what we end up at the bottom here, which is very hard to see. So the minimum suggested route is 36 miles, 36.1 technically. You have a range of 37.9 to 39.7, but again, that's right in the range of the 36 miles. So that's a data point that's starting to build our confidence in what is in the text stream data being related to our event.
This is all an effort to match whether or not the 1162 data is relevant to a particular event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Let me ask it this way. Matching all the distances by miles Is this the only way you're trying to determine whether 1162 is the event in front of 34 Fairview Road?
No. So again, these things are all tools. You can't take necessarily one data point in a vacuum. You need to consider the totality of the data. Which is what I did. So we mentioned the continuous clock that was in there, or the running clock that was in the vehicle. So what you see over here,
Could you
I
enlarge
mentioned-
that for us, Doctor? I hate to
I am
interrupt, but
doing that right now. You can see we have the time. And again, I've converted it in blue to minutes and seconds. This is the first trigger on that key cycle. So on key cycle 1162, there was 2 separate events. The vehicle keeps a continuously running clock. So we're able to see the time each event occurred relative to when the vehicle was started and the difference between the 2 events.
I
Okay.
have no idea what he's talking about.
So at trigger event 1162-1, we know that the ignition has been on for between 10 minutes and 57.4 seconds. Or that's when the trigger is, sorry, 10 minutes, 57.4 seconds. Again, the trigger has plus or minus. So that's from 10 minutes, 52.8 plus 10 seconds, which gets you to 11 minutes, 2.8 seconds. Or as I wrote here, 10 seconds total. So again, the text stream data indicates at the time this event was written, the trigger occurred, again, at 10 minutes. You see we have the T, 10 minutes, 57.4 seconds.
Dr. Welch, if I could ask you a couple of background questions. This block of time that you're reviewing that mentions 2 triggers, can you tell whether those triggers are immediately related or 2 separate events?
So you can tell they're separate events because there's a separate amount of time between them. There's about 8 minutes between the events. And so they're on the same ignition cycle, meaning the vehicle hasn't been turned off in between. And we have this continuously running clock that records when these things occurred. So it tells us when event 1 occurred, when event 2 occurred. We know it's on the same ignition cycle. So if we have some idea when the car was turned on, we can then tie that back to clock time or real world time. Okay. So lots going on here, right? A lot to digest. This is trigger event 1162.1. I was provided with data and a report from Mr. Burgess that indicated the infotainment system was turned on at 12:36. Zoom in for you folks. That corresponded to a GPS location that looked like it was outside the Waterfall Grill on Washington Street. So additional cell phone data that we had is that we knew there was a 3-point turn made when the Lexus passed Fairview on Cedar Crest, pulled into a driveway and made a 3-point turn. So what you see over here
Yes,
is
Idaho, that's fine.
GPS data from Mr. O'Keefe's phone. And with that information and knowing when the system turned on, we're able to now tie the text stream data to a real clock, meaning what time of day did that text stream trigger occur. So we're going from the Lexus was turned on at 12:36. You add in the text stream information, you get it at 12:23:38. And now we have a cell phone data point at 1:54. So at the time my report was written and these slides back in January, That was all the information we had in terms of data point 154. That was the one that was closest in time to it. So we had since received additional information.
Dr. Welch, let me ask you a couple questions, and if you can zoom in a little, we might be able to see it a little better from here.
Where would you like it?
If we can start at the top when you explain in text. You told us that the stream data does not have an actual clock, it has a running clock, like a stopwatch.
Correct?
And then you mentioned that after you received information from Mr. Burgess, you could put an actual time onto it. How do you do that?
Sustained.
You shared with us that the text stream data runs on a running clock.
Correct.
And then you received further information so that you could actually identify a time. Where did you receive that information from?
I'm going to allow that.
That was from Mr. Burgess's
No
report.
bueno.
And do you know where that information came from?
That came off the SD card, I believe, in the infotainment system.
Do you know when Mr. Burgess found the SD card on the infotainment system?
No, I'd have to go back to his report. But it was in it, this information was in his original report.
Based on the SD card information about when the car was turned on and off, how do you match that with the text stream data to get a time?
So when the car is turned on, that's approximately when the running clock starts in it. There may be as much as a 3-second delay in it, but that's approximately when the clock turns on. So this shows us when the stopwatch was started for the text stream data. So knowing that infotainment system has date and timestamps on it, so that ties it to a real world clock from GPS information. And so now we can, when that infotainment system turned on, it's very close in time to when the text stream data started recording data. That allows us to tie the two together.
The times that you're showing on this slide, does that relate to the first or second event on the text stream data, the first or second triggering event?
The first event.
Do you characterize the first event in any way?
I call it the 3-point turn.
In addition to the data you analyzed, was there any other information you saw that evidenced or supported that a 3-point turn occurred at the area depicted in your slide?
Right. We have a whole series of GPS data with heading angles, as well as a description that Ms. Reed gave in an interview.
The time that you have after you consider the SD card ignition on and the running time, what clock is that based on?
It's my understanding that's a clock in the infotainment system. And then we're ultimately trying to also tie it back to the clock on his cell phone. Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, correct.
Do you have any understanding whether all devices have the exact same clock?
So it's my understanding they do not. In my discussions with Mr. Burgess, reading reports, that they can have, there can be as much as 30 seconds to a minute of variation.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Have you ever heard the,
Strike, Your Honor, that answer.
Sure. Jurors disregard that answer.
have you ever heard the term variance before?
I have.
What do you understand that to be?
That means differences from the answer.
I'm sorry? Differences from what?
From the correct answer. Like meaning that a given data point has variance in terms of how it's measured, when it's measured. So different device can have a different variance around the actual true number.
You mentioned on this slide a time of 12:23:38.
Correct.
In O'Keefe's cell phone data, at point 154, approximately 12:23:58, this text stream data, and that of Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
There is.
When you developed the slide, did you have the benefit of more detailed information about data point 154?
I did not receive that until May 8th.
Did you later learn more information, more specific information?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to show an exhibit to Mr. Welcher that's already been admitted.
Okay.
It's 192A. Dr. Welcher?
Your Honor, can we approach on-
Yes, we'll come
Thank
over.
you.
Sorry, y'all. I had to check on some financial stuff. What'd I miss? Oh, Snickers is my favorite. Actually, I was gonna check to see if I could order some chocolate frogs from Universal. And then I remembered I paid my car insurance, but they hadn't taken it out yet. So I had to check and make sure I had enough money still in the bank to pay my car insurance, which I do. But that means I can't order candy. I miss cheeseburgers. I know. On my driving test, my 3-point turn was a 4-point turn. And I don't know what happened with parallel parking. It just was a disaster. But I still passed. And I often wonder if I passed because my dad was a highway patrolman. My dad was a state trooper. So I don't know if that's why I passed or not. Because I screwed up my parallel parking and my 3-point turn bad. Okay, Judy, why did you say what? What did I miss? I have to get rid of, because I have to get an annual pass to Universal. We had them 2 years ago, and we went like 4 or 5 times a year, and I'm dying. And now that Epic Universe is open, man, I wish, like, we weren't going to go until next year, so there would be fewer crowds and less technical problems with the new rides and stuff. Opening weekend, there was nobody there. They were refunding the express passes that you pay like $300 for, so you don't have to stand in the longer lines. They were refunding the price of those for people, because the crowds were so low. You didn't need the express passes because there were no lines. And I was like, dang it, why didn't we go? But if you have annual passes, you get discounts on Epic Universe tickets. So I need to get my annual passes back, which I've been wanting anyway. Then we get cheaper Epic Universe tickets. And I want to go to Epic Universe. I don't know. I don't understand his report. I've never understood the key cycle crap. I don't know how that tells you there was a collision. He said it doesn't register as a collision. So no collision. Why is he saying, excuse me. Why is he saying there's no collision? It doesn't register a collision, but there was a collision. That makes no sense. Different than the answer? It's not. When I was young, I loved to drive. Love, love, love. I would drive anywhere. Just put me behind the car. behind the wheel of a car, tell me where to go, I would go. I loved it. I would drive anywhere for anybody. Now I hate it. If I go anywhere, Travis, take me here, take me there. I hate it. I don't want to drive if I don't have to. I'm in Hufflepuff House in the Harry Potter fandom. And that's the loyalty house. That's our big thing is loyalty. And it breaks my heart that I'm going to have to get rid of a bunch of my YouTube memberships. Because I just feel like I'm letting them down. But like they've got so many other people that have memberships that it's probably not going to even matter. But still, you're a Slytherin? My stepdaughter's a Slytherin. Okay, if you know your house, put your house in the chat. I need to know these things. Jill, do you know what house you're in? Are you here? Are you still here? Where's my Jill? My cousin is a Ravenclaw. And she sent me this this Facebook reel yesterday. It's got there's like this bar and these guys are coming up to it. The Slytherin jumps over it. The Hufflepuff, what are those things called? Limbo. Does like the limbo underneath it. And then the Gryffindor does tries to do like a handstand on it. And then the Ravenclaw rolls up his sleeves like he's going to do something great and then walks around the pole. There's an opening on the side and he just walks around it. Guess for you? Oh, don't make me guess. I see you, Jill. I just didn't know if you were still here or not. You're Slytherin? I don't know what I would have thought, but I would never thought you were Slytherin. I don't want to guess. Okay. I'm going to guess Ravenclaw. Oh, look. Wiggles and I guess the same. Ravenclaw. Are you Ravenclaw? Judy's not a Potterhead. Judy's not a Potterhead. She doesn't know what she is. You're a Hufflepuff. I almost said Hufflepuff because you're always here for me. Evil twin. No, you're not evil. See, and that's what Casey keeps telling me. We're sly and cunning. We're not bad. We're just sly and cunning. I'm like, whatever, Casey. Whatever. My cousin thinks it means that like Luna. I'm like, no, Luna's just kooky and eccentric. They're not all kooky and eccentric. They're intelligent and witty and book smart. And like Hermione should have ended
it up in Ravenclaw. Why she did witty and resourceful. That's what Casey keeps telling me.
Dr. Welcher, if you could take us back to slide 30.
Hey, Robbie.
And so we understand you mentioned there were two triggering events. Is this the first one or the second one?
It's the first one,
Is that the one you've labeled the 3-point turn?
correct?
And where did that happen? What street?
Cedar Crest?
At this time in red, 12:23:38.
Correct.
Where is that time taken from?
That's coming from the cell phone of Mr. O'Keefe at 0.154.
And is there another time on there?
I mean, I do the math between those two.
Okay. Could you make that a little larger? Could you zoom in so we
Sure.
can see it better?
So there's an infotainment time of 12:12:36, I guess another time, that answer your question. Then we have,
The 12:12:36, what does that indicate? What's that relevant to?
that's when the text stream data basically turned on, plus or minus a little bit.
When you say the text stream, is that relative to when the car turned on?
Correct. Sorry.
Okay.
So when the car turned on, then we add the time. We have data in the text stream that shows the speed, the position, the steering of the vehicle on that trigger. And so we're trying to match the timing and the description of what the vehicle was doing with the text stream, the infotainment, and the cell phone data.
Is the data that you analyze regarding the speed, the direction, and the timing to determine whether this was consistent with a 3-point turn?
Yes.
Okay. Continue, please. And if you can enlarge that because it's hard to see back here.
Sure is. Okay, so again, we are looking at event 1162-1. The information in blue is speed. It comes out of the text stream in kilometers an hour, converting miles per hour, feet per second, looked at distance traveled, shift position. So in the text stream data, a shift position of 1 indicates you're in drive. A shift position of 2 indicates you're in reverse.
There's no zeros. What would a zero indicate?
0 is usually neutral. And I believe 3 is park. So there's also data on the acceleration of the vehicle. So basically, what is the effect of whatever you're doing, turn on the gas or not stepping on the gas? And there's also information on the steering of the vehicle. Again, there's trigger 5 seconds before, 5 seconds after. So over here, a positive number equals a leftward steer. Forward motion in drive goes forward with leftward steer, stops, shifts into reverse, and then continues with the rightward steer back.
Could you take us over to the left of that data? When you, as an event, can a key cycle or when a car is turned on, power ignition on until the point is turned off, whatever amount of time, can it have more than one triggering event?
Yes, you can have lots of triggering events. In this case, it has 2. On a key cycle 1164, there's 11. On 1167, there's 10.
If you could move a little bit to the right on this, is there something you can see on here that caused the triggering event, some of the data?
Yes. So if you look at the triggering, the indication of what this trigger was, what you see is accelerator opening ratio, which is basically, you can think of it as how much you're stepping on the gas pedal. And so if it exceeds in this case, 30% quicken time after shipping into reverse, that tells the system, hey, we might need to start recording this data. So what you can see, it went into reverse, and then within a very short amount of time, the accelerated pedal went above that 30%. That's what caused the T or the trigger in the text stream data.
The row next to the 31.5, engine RPM data, can you explain to us what that is?
Sure, that's how many revolutions per minute the engine's turning.
The more gas, is it generally the higher the RPM?
Correct. There's going to be a little lag. Your car doesn't move instantaneously. You have to step on the gas, then the RPMs go up, and then it starts going faster.
If you could explain to us the total distance and distance travel columns, how do you read that?
Sure. So we know the speed at various times. We know from this data that there is, you can see half a second between each one of these timestamps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data points at half a second. That's the 5 seconds of pre-crash data. So if you know you're going so many miles per hour, again, I converted it to feet per second. Feet per second, you're going so many feet per second for half a second, for example. You just multiply those two together and it tells you how far you went. So what I'm doing is looking at speed traveling during the interval, that's during this short time period. And then I add it all together here for total distance traveled.
You mentioned that when the data is captured, it's limited to 10 seconds. When we look at the top row of JBW vehicle speed MPH, it's 9.94. Is that 9.94 miles per hour?
It is.
Can we tell whether it was going faster or slower before this data?
We generally cannot. I mean, you might have some, it looks like it's slowing down. And then you see right here, this brake switch application. So you have two things relative to braking. You have a brake switch, which is simply whether the brake is on or off, just enough pressure to make the brake light come on. And then you have brake oil pressure, which gives you some idea of how much pressure is in the system, which is a rough indication for the braking. But then what you see here is the longitudinal acceleration or deceleration. This gives you some idea of how much the vehicle is speeding up or slowing down. So generally a minus sign is a slowing or accelerating in reverse.
And for the bottom of those columns, I'd ask you whether or not at the beginning of the window, if you had any other information, is it the same situation for the end of that window that's captured?
Correct. So at the end of this window, you can see it's still going about 8.7 miles an hour when the trigger stopped. So after that trigger plus 5 seconds, the system said we no longer need to monitor it. Things have returned to an okay state. And so then it stops monitoring the system.
Based on your analysis and review and looking at this data, did you come to a conclusion to a degree of uncertainty whether or when this event occurred as it is portrayed?
Yes, I did.
And could you share with the jury a reasonable degree of engineering certainty? When did this occur?
So this, you want time-wise or location or both?
Start with location, then time.
So it happened on Cedar Crest. It happened between cell phone data points 154 and 155. And it's a 3-point turn on Cedar Crest. And it occurred, according to the text stream data, about 12 minutes, 23 seconds after the vehicle was turned on. So,
And do you have an understanding of Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone?
yes,
And what is that variance time?
21 to 29 seconds.
And so the Lexus clock at 21:23:38. What time would that put Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
The kids at the park. They go, "Ooh, I like your wand holder," because they don't make wand holders. The ones I made my own. The kids look at it; their eyes get real big. I have to buy another one. Park. That was so weird. That was so weird. What is my computer doing? It kicked me out of Court TV. It asked me if I wanted to reload. StreamYard asked me if I wanted to reload, and I said no, and it still reloaded it. And it kicked me out of Court TV. That was weird. I don't know if that was Court TV or StreamYard or my computer. That was just bizarre. There's my Hufflepuff. My wand holder. And I made it like a crossbody chair. So I could wear it like that. And the reason why I made it was because I lost it on a ride. So I made it so I wouldn't lose it. Because I had it stuck like down in a pocket of a bag and it fell out. And it's not going to fall out of this one. Because like any ride that's like a roller coaster that's like real rough or anything, or goes upside down, you're not allowed to have something like this. The only problem is I'm trying to remember how many times I've had it since I lost it on that ride that I've gone back. Oh, cool. I've never worked at an amusement park. I would have if Dad had been stationed in Orlando or Kissimmee or someplace close. I would have worked at an amusement park. I definitely would have got a job there. But I think that wand is broken because it fell when I was on a ride, and then I went to the Lost and Found, and I filled out a thing and they mailed it back to me, and it cost like $16, I think, postage to get it back. And then the next time I went to the park and tried to use it, it didn't work. And I don't know if it was me, if I was doing the wand thing wrong or something. Which is possible. But they have like a lifetime warranty on them. So I can take it back and they can fix it for free. And if they can't fix it, they'll replace it. Ooh. Ooh.
I'm gonna give you
I
10-minute
wonder if
break.
I can just pay the difference
10-minute break and then we'll go.
between that and a new wand. The
This
new
one's for the
wand,
jury.
the upgraded one. Ooh. I want those two. When I get the studio set up in that room, when the girls come get the rest of their crap out, I'm gonna get those candles and have them all over the place behind me and everything.
Dr. Walton first. Be back in 10 minutes.
Back in 10 minutes. Another break? What the fudge? Are we gonna have court today? Sometime, maybe. Are we gonna do anything productive today? They have them on Amazon, Carla. I think they're only like $20 for a set. Although I think I would want 2 sets because I would want more. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Why did you buy a judge's robe? Okay, I won't hold you. Can you look at the camera and say hi to everybody? Put your head up. Here, I'll go get you a snack. We're on another break. Stay up there. Stay up there. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. This is the last one. This is your last one, Chicky Poo. Mommy has to buy some more. You need to stand where they can see you. I dressed as a pregnant bride for Halloween one year. Everybody's saying hi, Shadow. They love you. They love you. Oh, you dripped it on my foot. That's gross. I like that one black lacy thing you wear in that one picture, Carla. It's pretty. You've got it on my foot. Can you lick that off my foot? Please lick it off my foot. Look, you've got it on my foot right there. Don't lick it off yourself, foot. Lick it up first. Not foot, first. Don't lick it off yourself first. Lick it off my foot. It's on my foot. Get it off my foot. It stinks. Yeah, and your other picture for your other YouTube account. Oh, but you've got like a lacy veil thing on your head. How do you always know where the blind spot is, Shadow? I didn't tell you to leave. I just said you know where the blind spot is. You guys, my butt bone hurts. Oh, my butt bone. Just my butt bone, though. My back is perfectly fine. I'm so glad that I had nerve block. I don't know what would happen if I did not have nerve block. Oh, cool. Here's the blink. Ouch. It feels much better. It will be much better by July when we go to another water park. but they're gonna come back and they're gonna say, "Let's go to lunch. How much you want to bet?" Okay, this is it. This is the one that killed me. This first drop right here. This is where my butt went bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Yes, hear that Not at all. That was what hurt my butt was the airtime. What's the McCann house, Nancy? I liked the slides and it was fun. Had it not been for it bumping my butt, because see, what I didn't realize is the same thing happened to Travis at Typhoon Lagoon on their water roller coaster. But he didn't make like a big deal out of it. But with me, I'm still in pain today. Like I hurt bad. He didn't hurt that bad. He just came up, bumped, and that was it. I bumped over and over and over and over again. What is the McCann house? Okay, I'm going to Google it. Well, no, I'm not because my keyboard's not cooperating. Oh, man. I totally forgot. The world's biggest McDonald's is in Orlando, and I wanted to go, and I totally forgot. Why are you trolling people? That's not nice. Mark, summer home of one of America's first professional interior designers, Henry Davis Sleeper, perched on a rock ledge overlooking Gloucester Harbor. Beauport was the Sleeper's retreat backdrop for entertaining a professional showcase and an inspiration to all who visited. Oh, cool. Neat. Oh, that's cool. Oh my gosh. See, I like stuff like this. Travis doesn't. I told him I wanted one day to go to Orlando to do the lesser attractions like the Titanic Museum and the Wax Museum. I was like, the stuff that you don't like to do. And he was like, oh, wow. Look at that place. That is gorgeous. I'll show you the one that we did at Typhoon Lagoon if I can find it. It's nowhere near as steep. That one was so steep. But see, Travis didn't, like, he said it bumped his back, but it, you know what? It does look as steep. I don't know why it didn't hurt me. Maybe we didn't ride the one that was the steepest. Huh. Yeah, that house is amazing. Yeah, I like that stuff too. Travis doesn't like it. I drag him with me when I can. When I can get him to go, I drag him with me. I want to go to um the Titanic Museum bad. Okay, this is the one that I did ride and didn't have a problem with. This one is at Disney Typhoon Lagoon. The drop part is steep. The drop part is steep. The whole thing is a coaster. Go back! But there are different ones. They have 3 different ones, and this one looks steep. See the rollers? I'll show you. Let me make it bigger. I want to go so bad. Oh, this is a longer one. How long is it? A minute. I think that last one, this we did not do. So we're going to have to save that one to last in case I have the same problem. Hey, Terry. Okay. They're back. The objection was overruled. Whatever it was, I don't even remember now.
Dr. Welch, could you take us to slide 30? Can you zoom a little bit on the
was turned on. So we're adding those two together. So if you add the 12, 36 to, for example, 11 minutes, 2.8 seconds for when the end of the trigger is, that gives you 12:23 trigger is now from the Lexus.
It's sustained.
And where's that from?
The Lexus.
Thank you. The 12:23:58 number, what's the significance of that?
So that is Mr. Keefe's cell phone data at 0.154. Again, from the original, just at 54 and 155, the in-between points. So
And at the bottom parentheses, explain to us what that means.
sure, if you look at where the text stream math works out to be, 12:23:38.8, and compare that to 12:23:58, the difference between those two is 19.2 seconds.
The difference between which clocks?
Between what the text stream at 154 on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone is.
And based on new data, do you now have information about what the variance, the difference is between and the clock on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone?
Yes,
And what is that?
Your Honor.
Going to allow that.
it's, you need to advance the text stream clock 21 to 29 seconds.
You need to advance it 21 to 29 seconds. For why? Why do you need to do that?
Because the cell phone is ahead.
Text stream ahead 21 to 29 seconds. Can you then compare the information, the time that's coming from the infotainment system, Lexus, to Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone from his iPhone?
Correct. That's what you need to have an apples to apples comparison. You need to get them on the same time clock.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can proceed.
Shadow doesn't trust me, y'all. I wonder why.
So I think we left off here. So that's 1162-1. So what we have is we have the cell phone data, the original cell phone data on the right-hand side. And then from that text stream data, we have whether it's going forward, we have the speeds, we have the steering angles. So for that information, we ran a simulation to show what the text stream data means. This is what the 10 seconds of data is. And again, just because the simulation stopped, that's just where the text stream data ends. Again, as we showed you earlier, that the car's still moving, that's just the last data point we have. So what that text stream data shows is matching a 3-point turn on that Cedar Crest Street. So we have the vehicle motion, the timing data, consistent with the interview statements about making a turn, 3-point turn.
Can you take us back to the data chart and show the 2 points that you just mentioned, the turning? Where's that reflected in the data?
Sure. So you can see
And you'll
in
have to enlarge that. I'm sorry, Doctor.
column N, that's the ship position. So that's looking, we start off going forward right here. And you can see at the start of the simulation, we're going about 9.94 miles an hour. And then as you start a 3-point turn, you generally start, in this case, if you're going to the left, with the left turn. So you can see we have this steering angle here, then the transmission. So again, we have the brake application. So you're coming in, but you're slowing down and you get down to a speed of approximately 0. Shift into reverse, back up, and then start to turn the other direction as you're backing up. So again, you want the rear to go to the right, you turn the steering wheel to the right. Right is negative. And so that's what this shows. So again, if you put it all into a simulation program, the speeds, shift, the distance, keep in mind we only have a window of data for that Lexus. That's what it indicates.
Can you enlarge the photograph on the right with the data points and explain to us the significance of that?
Sure. So again, what we're trying to do is we have the infotainment, we have a text stream. We're now trying to see how that correlates to Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone. So we had originally very coarse data points, 154 and 155. There's additional data points between here. So we're looking at how well did, so with the cell phone correction, you end up with the text stream data at 12:23:59 to 12:24:07. So that's actually right in between these two data points. And so we know 154 was closest, but it's on the right-hand side of the road. 155 is when it's turned around and heading back in the southerly direction. So the cell phone data corroborates the text stream timing data in conjunction with the infotainment system data.
Thank you. Please continue.
Okay, so we talked about 1162-1. That's the first trigger on the text stream. So we're going to go to 1162-2. So I've highlighted that in yellow. So we're now talking about the second trigger. So this is on the same ignition cycle. It's on ignition cycle 1162. We have that same continuous running clock, but we've now synced it to real world clocks. So instead of the running clock, we now have some information on the real world clock. So at this time, we know the ignition has been on for 19 minutes and 2 seconds. So at the trigger, 19 minutes and 2 seconds. And again, we have 5 seconds either side of that. So between 18 minutes, 57.6 seconds to 19 minutes, 7.5 seconds.
Could you enlarge that, please?
Which part?
That part where your arrow is. You were speaking about the clock. Could you explain that so the jury can see?
Sure. So again, this is continuous from when the time comes on. I just converted it to minutes and seconds here. So you can see how long it's been on. This is the mileage. These are the speeds over here. And this is some information on how far it traveled. Again, we have the plus minus on the steering. That gives us some
Shadow,
information on the steering.
Why are you on the
Really,
keyboard?
there's very little steering going on at this point.
Shadow Ebony.
Slight leftward steer.
Dr. Welcher, did you determine how long after the first trigger, that 3-point turn, that this second trigger occurred?
Yes, 3-point turn occurred about 8 minutes after.
You said the 3-point turn occurred
I'm
after.
sorry, this event, I misspoke. 11.2 occurred about 8 minutes after.
After the 3-point turn.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Can you walk us through this data?
Sure. We have the acceleration data here. And then from that information, in the speed at which it's backing up. The reason we have slightly different calculations here is we have some evidence that the wheel's slipping on the ground. So we need to use the accelerometer because the wheel speed is simply telling you the speed of the wheel. It's like if you're stationary burning rubber, the speedometer reads a certain speed, but you're not going anywhere. But the accelerometer tells you how much the vehicle's moving. So from all that information traveled, we've done it in terms of
Everything was going great until some cat decided to press buttons.
In this second triggering event. So if you can scroll all the way to the left.
all the way to the left.
So the first column regarding time, could you remind us again what that is?
So again, that's the continuous running clock.
And the second column in blue?
That's where I take that time and convert it.
And now we have a key cycle event, different than the 3-point turn. What's the number?
So then now 11-2.
And
So
the,
-2.
and the red number next to the right.
That's the mileage. So it's actually at the same mileage as 1162-1. So we know, obviously, they're within the same mile.
If you can scroll over a couple of columns. From your data, can you tell during that event how far?
So we have accelerometer data. We have velocity data or speed data back here. I've corrected for what you see down here is, and I go through this on a later slide, but right here you can see acceleration is dropping. So what that means is if your RPMs are going
Getting ticked.
because the acceleration is dropping, that means what's actually happened is the wheel's slipping. So what to reverse,
Can we please not do this today? StreamYard, can we please? Can we please not do this?
and once we know the speed, again, feet per second, we know every data point is half a second. So speed times time tells you how far you moved.
Oh, good for you, Nance.
Feet per second, feet divided by seconds times seconds gives you feet. That's how far you went. So you get how far you went in each interval, traveled. And so this is relative to the start. So zero start, you see it basically stops in this area right here, then begins to back up and ends up backing a total of 53 back from where it originally started. So if you add 53 to 34, you get 87. So the total motion, 34 forward, 53 back, the Lexus moved 87 feet total.
Dr. Welcher, when you say the Lexus moved 83 feet total, is that according to the data or is that the entirety of the movement of that Lexus?
No, that's just from when the data starts to when the data ends. So if you look at when the data starts, you can see that the vehicle is actually going 13.67 miles an hour. When the data stops, the vehicle is still going 23 miles an hour. And you can see,
I'm sorry.
you can still and see that it's still at 74% throttle. So this is 3/4 of full throttle in reverse.
So to start with the distance traveled, if you can go to the top, we see that the speed is 13.67. Is that where the data gets picked up?
That's where the first data point is. Again, the trigger is here. This is 5 seconds before the trigger.
Are you able to tell how fast or slow the vehicle is traveling before that data point of 5 seconds before the trigger?
No.
And likewise, on the bottom, the speed. At the end of the 10-second data points at 23.61, can you tell whether or not that speed stayed the same, increased, or decreased?
I mean, considering you're at 74% throttle, it likely increased. How much, I don't know. And you can see that up here, she's on the brake. Down here, she's not on the brake. And so she's not on the brake and at 74% throttle.
And what is the percentage of throttle that has to be initiated to cause a triggering event?
For a shift into rear and a rapid throttle application, is 30%.
If you look at the next column over, if you can go to the top heading for the jury to see the engine RPM data, could you explain that?
Sure. Again, that's the engine RPMs. And so, as I mentioned, you have this jump in engine RPMs and a very dramatic jump in the reported speed of the vehicle. But when you look at the acceleration is actually dropping. So again, that's a telltale sign that the tire is spinning because the vehicle is not being accelerated. And so I've used the accelerometer data. Again, if you just, a process called integration, you integrate the accelerometer data, it will give you the velocity. So what I've done is, it's called piecewise integration to get the speed data that takes into account the tire slippage, and from there calculated the speed or the position at each interval going across the top here.
If I could stop you at your column that says JBW speed at each time step.
Yep.
If you go to the bottom, please. So does your data indicate that the speed is changing at the end of this 10-second event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Is the speed changing at the end of this event?
Yes.
How so?
Well, again, you can see it's increased about 2.7 miles per hour. And again, we know from what I already stated that that last time step, you're still at 74% throttle and you have 0 brake application.
Is it possible from the data to tell how far the Lexus went forward before it went in reverse in total as far as feet?
Not in total, no. We just have this 10-second window. I can tell you what it did during this 10-second window.
Is it possible to tell how far it continued after the data?
No.
The shift position changes from 1 to 0 to 2. Can you again explain to us what that means?
Sure. 1 is drive, 0 is neutral, 2 is reverse. And then brake switch status, again, a 1 is you're on the brake pedal, enough to activate the brake lights. 0 is you're off the brake pedal.
Each one of those indicators, 1, 0, 2, how much time is for each of those?
0.5 seconds.
So can you tell how long the Lexus was in neutral for?
So again, it only occurs at one time step. And again, there's a little timing issue. Like we only have data every half second. You don't know exactly where in that time it was.
Okay, you can continue, Dr. Welcher.
Next slide or continue on this slide?
Unless there's something else you want to point out to the jury on this slide. You can
Nope, I'm
move to
good.
the next.
So similarly, using this information to then try to tie it back to the cell phone data to make sure we have the real-time information. Again, this was written back in January before I got the additional information. So what you can see is, I'll zoom in. Again, we're now talking about trigger 1162.2. We know that that's 18 minutes that the vehicle's been on 18 minutes, 57 seconds, 19 minutes, 2 seconds. This is the range. Again, the plus or minus 5 seconds. The 19 minutes, 2 seconds is when the trigger occurred. Infotainment system at 12:12.5 indicates the end of 1162-2 is at 12:31:43.
That 12 system,
It is. It would need to be corrected to the O'Keefe cell phone data.
when you reconcile that variance of 21.9 seconds, what is the time?
You end up with 12:32:04. So if you simply take this and add 21 seconds to it and add 29 seconds to it, so you get between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12.
When you reconcile the two clocks and you have that range of 12:32:04 to 12:32:14.
12:32:12.
I'm sorry, 12:32:12. Does that simply accommodate the window of data, but not before and after?
Correct. So, again, even on John's O'Keefe's cell phone, even within his cell phone, there's somewhere between 21 to 29 seconds difference on his cell phone. So even that one piece of instrumentation has some variance to it. So we know it's between 21 to 29 seconds at this approximate that variance.
On the data, and that's reflected in the 12:32:04 to 12:32:12.
Sustained.
Is there any other window you can accommodate with the data you have other than that 10-second window?
Yes.
What's that?
So I was given information about a final lock event on the phone.
Let's stick with this window if we can.
Okay.
Since you only have 10 seconds of data, is it possible from the Lexus clock data to have a larger window than the 10-second window?
No, the text stream will only give you a 10-second window,
Okay.
but it doesn't tell the whole story because the vehicle's still moving.
Understood. Okay, continue, please.
So I have the other event, a lock event, and the information I've given that's at 12:32. And so we have the stream data ending at 12:12.
Continue.
Is this a good place to take a luncheon break?
Certainly are.
Okay, so why don't we do that? So we'll take 45 minutes.
Very much.
You are muted.
Okay, guys. 45 minutes, so it's 1:05. So back at 1:50. There I am. Yay, now you can see me. Okay. Lunch is that awful music again. Lunch is 45 minutes, so that will be 1:50. And if you're going to be back with me for after lunch, I will see you then. If not, thank you for coming out. Please join us again tomorrow. We will do full spectra in the morning. I just wanted to sleep in a little later because of the rough weekend that I had. So thank you. You guys are hilarious. Okay, remember, be kind to people, love your family. Jesus loves you. So do I. Bye, guys. Have a great lunch, and I will see you guys when we get back. Carla, you be safe out there. Come back whenever you can, and I will see you guys after lunch. Bye.